What is happening in Wisconsin is a kind of laboratory for the Koch brothers.
It's crystal clear. This was all about destroying unions and going after wage earners.
Governor Walker, he's really the puppet of the Koch brothers.
Wisconsin was a test case for the Koch brothers because that's where they concentrated a great deal of their resources. They've financed Americans for Prosperity Wisconsin, local think tanks, and of course candidates like Scott Walker. The Koch brothers are targeting unions because they don't want to pay higher wages to their own workers. Several Koch political deputies met with Scott Walker shortly after the November elections and urged him to take on public sector unions, to attack collective bargaining as one of his top priorities. A lot of the money came from Koch organizations, particularly Americans for Prosperity. Politicians, whenever they make a big decision like this and they face a lot of heat, they need political cover, and that's what Koch gave him. Koch's political organizations, like Americans for Prosperity, started running attack ads against the protesters.
Who decides Wisconsin's future? Voters or government unions?
They were also sponsoring a bus tour all over Wisconsin, holding rallies saying, "Thank you, Governor Walker, for crushing the unions." So they played a very convenient role for Walker. Not only were they big campaign contributors, but they had this multifaceted political strategy to promote what he was doing against the labor unions. In the midst of this battle between the protesters and Scott Walker, a blogger thought it would be an interesting idea to call Governor Walker and pretend to be David Koch.
I decided to pose as David Koch because he seemed like the obvious union-busting billionaire that could get through to Scott Walker. I was in absolute shock. Just hearing him how thrilled he was to talk to David Koch. All it took is a couple beautiful.
Scott, David Koch, how are
Hey,
you?
David.
A little disheartened by the situation there, but what's the latest?
We're actually hanging pretty tough.
Beautiful. Gotta crush that union.
It didn't take much to get him to talk. The guy just rambled and rambled.
I told my cabinet in Wisconsin's history, this is our moment.
He just comes at me like he's sucking up to his boss.
This is our time to change the course of history.
I just thought the voice was kind of a generic, older, rich, terrible person.
Bring a baseball bat. That's what
I have one in my office. You'll be happy with that. I got a slugger with my name on it.
Once you crush these bastards, I'll fly out to Cali and show you a good time.
All right, that would be outstanding.
I think it may have opened people's eyes across the country just to this idea that politicians often don't represent people, they represent people with money.
In the end, Scott Walker's union stripping bill was passed, but there was a high political cost. Two state senators who supported the bill lost their seats in a recall election. And 1 million signatures were gathered to recall Governor Scott Walker himself.
Recall Walker! Recall Walker!
It was one of the biggest recall efforts the country has ever seen.
Recall Walker!
This is the headline that I woke up to.
The whole story of the Walker power grab against the unions shows that people can fight back against the influence of powerful interests like the Koch brothers.